Hi, this is Shane Starr with Philosophical Reflections on Religion. Now that our series has been through the basics of philosophical or theological concepts of Christianity, I'm moving on to more specific issues and problems. And as my introductory short video a few days ago suggests, we are discussing Steven Spielberg's new film, Disclosure Day. And I'm going to put a link about a little short video, what he said about Disclosure Day in the comment section. But in short, basically he says that discovering intelligent extraterrestrial life would force people to question God and ask specifically, is God only our God, or is God actually in charge of every single planet in the universe that has life? And again, the main point is that according to Spielberg, this realization would force many people to question their faith. My reaction is almost the opposite. I think the existence of aliens wouldn't make God smaller, but rather creation larger. And really, I mean, the question is here, would the discovery of aliens destroy Christianity? You know, if Spielberg suggested that it would shake the faith of many religious people, what does that mean? And for me, it means literally nothing, nearly nothing. I'm going to make an argument, like a short 3-step argument that shows my point. I'm wearing green for aliens. No, not really. I just thought that was a funny thing to say. Anyways, if God can create one person, that is amazing in and of itself. And yet, if God can create one person, God can create hundreds, thousands, millions, trillions, an infinite number of people. People imagine that God creating yourself or you and your family or a few different people is believable, but somehow when they think of the millions or billions of people on the planet, it starts getting more difficult. And then when they think of other species and then possibly life on other planets, somehow this is overwhelming, and you know, they can't conceive of how such a thing can be the case. You know, almost like the sheer numbers overwhelm God. The thing is, I think God's bigger than our imagination here, and you would have to think that, first of all, creating anything from nothing is already infinitely beyond us. And again, whether God creates one human, 10 billion humans, or 10 trillion other species of intelligent beings, the difference in those numbers is tiny compared to the miracle of creation itself. I think once you've come to believe in an infinite creator, increasing the size of creation doesn't increase God's difficulty. It only increases our amazement of it. My second point is that God already governs countless creatures. And if you don't believe in God, the universe is governing it. So whether you believe in God or not, countless of different types of creatures are already here among us on this planet. And so if you're going to let aliens mess up your faith, you might as well let different species of animals mess it up, because it's not that different. You know, God already relates to single cell organisms, insects, all the creatures in the sea, the mammals, the fish, elephants, wolves, giraffes, birds, and, bacteria, forests, ecosystems. Even in some ways, the onset of AI is it's coming from us, and then we come from God. It's almost like another step in evolution or something. So given that this is already the case, why would one more intelligent species suddenly become a theological crisis? Why would it be like, oh, well, hey, if there's aliens, I'm out. Like, I can't believe anymore. That's a little too much. I don't understand that. So I've already alluded to this, but my third point is that the problem's really not God's ability, but our imagination. In other words, this debate says less about God than it does about us. We struggle to comprehend billions of people, billions of galaxies, infinite time. But if you think about it, Christianity has always claimed that God is infinite. God transcends time. God knows every sparrow, according to Jesus. God numbers every hair on our heads. And, our failure to understand the complexities and the grandeur of creation, in a way, it's no different than trying to explain calculus to my cat. My cat's inability to understand the complexities of calculus doesn't make calculus untrue or false or something not fully real. Rather, it's simply that it lies beyond my cat's comprehension. My cat can see evidence of mathematics in action with its dish and all those other things, just like we can see clues about God's existence from creation. But the fact that we can't see the whole thing shouldn't be an argument against that thing. So my next point is, let's consider how that would change things if we did discover that aliens were among us. There would certainly be some fascinating theological questions. Would some of them be good and others be fallen? Would they know God or believe in God or practice our religion or a different religion? Has God revealed himself to them similarly or differently? I think those are all fascinating questions, but notice what they are not. They are not an argument against God's existence. These aren't questions challenging belief. They're questions within the structure of belief. Finding another civilization would simply expand theology. It wouldn't eliminate it. Okay, so back to Spielberg. God, why do I keep saying that? Back to Spielberg. Does this point really challenge faith? At least if nothing else, you could tell these videos aren't like rehearsed and made in a studio, unless you consider my car here a studio. It's kind of too windy outside, so I did the video from my car. So let me turn it on its head. Let's say scientists were able to discover that there were no intelligent aliens anywhere, only on Earth. Would that make Christianity suddenly more believable? Not to me. It wouldn't do anything to help my faith to know that we're all alone. And I think many thoughtful philosophical people would say the same thing. It's like, well, it wouldn't mean anything. It would just mean like a more incredible accident or something. So if no intelligent life anywhere doesn't increase faith, why would the opposite suddenly make belief in God, less logical or sound. I think the symmetry of the analogy exposes the weakness of the argument. Like, oh, if there's aliens, then Christianity's cooked or something, no. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm looking forward to it. From my understanding, Spielberg is pretty fair and good as far as his treatment of how people of faith react. But I'll make that judgment for myself when I see it. But wrapping up my argument here, Christianity has never claimed that humanity is the only thing God creates. Like Jesus told his disciples, that in my kingdom there's many mansions, many houses. There's room for a lot more than we might believe or think there is. What Christianity does claim is that the creation itself reflects God, that we, humanity, bear God's image in more ways than one, that Christ entered our history, which isn't to say he entered or didn't enter any other histories. None of these claims exclude alien life. So my conclusion is that the discovery of alien life wouldn't be the end of faith. It would simply remind us that God and God's creation has always been more vast than our imaginations can comprehend. That's all I have for this week. See you soon. Until then, God bless.